Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 28th season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 24/7 with Fight on State. And each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Harry's Construction, if you can dream it, we can create it. By DeLeo Games, serving the community since 1945. By Keller Engineers, delivering results, exceeding expectations. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
What I'm doing, getting right to it. Yeah, the money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I drew it. Yeah, you know what it is. Hey, we doing it big. Look up, there is no limit, no, we cannot settle for this. Yeah, can't stop, nah, won't stop. Yeah, it's been on live. You don't believe it, just watch.
Welcome to our season first game, Nevada, 46-11. I'll get it right, joined by Mark Brennan and our great friend Steve Smear has been a friend of the NitWits for many years. I'm Neil Rudell. No punts, no turnovers. That's a great formula. I just think that just about every box, for the most part, there's some things to work on, but they checked a lot of the boxes for a season opening game.
Yeah, I think they were vanilla in a lot of ways. I think if you watched that game, you could see where the score probably could have been wider had they done some other things. The deep passing game, they didn't really exploit that as much as they probably could have. If you look at their percentages on the deep passes, I think they could have done a little bit more. But I'm completely fine with that. There's no reason to empty the holster in game one against a completely overmatched opponent. The one thing I loved is that you're coming off of that Orange Bowl performance where your wide receivers do nothing for you, and you kind of exercise those demons to an extent against a lesser team with two of your new guys, Hudson and Pena, and both guys 6 catches each, or 6 and 7 catches. I'm sorry, they didn't have a wide receiver with 6 catches in a game last year.
Right.
It hadn't happened since the Maryland game of 2023. So to set that tone with these new guys, I think was important for the wide receiver core, because you know what you have. Whatever happened with the running game yesterday, I think that's going to be fine. I think Aller's going to be fine. The tight ends are going to be good. To establish things with the wide receivers, I think was a positive.
Steve, you gave us a good scouting report from your perch.
Yes, well, I think, defensively, look, Dennis Sutton was just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a game that some people have a season that good. He had like two sacks. He had 1 sack. He had 2 TFLs. He had 2 fumble recoveries.
Forced fumbles.
Yeah. So he played a great game, and you had Durant, who had a interception. And we had some guys that I thought our linebackers. Rojas had like 4 or 5 tackles, and he had a couple of TFLs.
Campbell had 6. Yeah.
Campbell was good. He had a TFL and as well. And I just thought they played a really good football game. I think we need some help maybe at defensive end. We need a little more help there. But the tackles, I think we have maybe 4 tackles that can play.
Yeah.
Blanding and Gilliam played well. So them along with Ford and Durant, I thought did a good job. So
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, you had a couple penalties late in the game. We'll get to that a little bit later. But for the most part, it was pretty clean. James said afterwards, a lot of teams are sloppy this early in the year. He really didn't see that other than the fumble by Aller. TV thought he should have caught it, but, I don't know. I kind of thought he dropped it. But I liked, to your point about the receivers, not only did they throw the ball to him, they ran Pena on a reverse. They have those guys, in the return game, which was, I think, improved.
Pena looked good.
Yeah.
I mean, no big returns, but the courage he showed back there.
And it's 20-3 in the first half. I mean, they were going to be able to name their score eventually,
right.
But they come down on a 2-minute drill. Aller hits a few in a row. It's 4th and 2, and he zings a pass to Ross, another new guy. So I think that there was a lot of, and I was surprised. Without Warren, the position still had 6 catches.
Yeah, well, 3 of their first 4 plays were to the new wide receivers, and I don't think that was a coincidence. I think Andy Kotelnicki wanted to send a message that they're beyond what happened last year. They brought in these guys. They were all consistent at their former schools, and I think that's what you're looking for. It's great, if you get an 80-yard touchdown catch, but I think getting it done game after game after game. So a good first start. But let's see where they go. But obviously the red zone, some questions there. You get there 7 times, you score 4 touchdowns, you settle for 3 field goals, and that's something. It was great that Barker did what he needed to do, or 4 field goals, I'm sorry. Yeah. Barker did what he needed to do. That'll be really good when you're playing the Ohio States and the Oregons, but against this sort of team, I think you got to be able to punch it in.
Yeah, what else did you like?
In the kicking game, for instance, I don't know if you noticed, but we dropped 2 guys back on the punt returns because of the rugby style kicker, and the ball didn't hit the ground, and we did a better job with our punts that way. And then of course the kickoff return that King Mack had. So that was, I thought our kicking game was improved much over last year. Yeah, in that game.
One thing I would say, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but they're past the point where you need Nick Singleton and Katron Allen back there in the kicking game. I understood when Saquon was back there. Number one, he's a different level than everybody else. Number two, they didn't have the across-the-board athletes that they have now. Yeah. Now you have a guy like King Mack back there, and there's other players that they could put back there. These running backs are too crucial to what you wanted to get done to be putting them in harm's way. So I would lean on King Mack. I would lean on some of the other guys.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to get those guys in the game. We've been saying that really for the better part of a year. Of why do you really want to have Singleton? One thing that impressed me on special teams is Hudson. Hudson's downfield blocking on King Mack's big return. He not only busted it to get out there and block one guy, he blocked 2 guys. And so I think the pride that a guy like that is showing coming here as a transfer was good.
What about Dixon on that on the kickoff when he made that super tackle? I mean, he had a tremendous tackle. It was our specialty teams, I thought, played better.
I was saying to Neil after the game, Hudson, he almost looks like he's like 35 years old. Yeah. But I don't mean that in a negative way. He carries himself like a pro. Yeah. Steve, you know what I'm talking about. There are certain guys who, even as college players, I'm sure it was like that with you and Mike Reed and crew later in your careers, where you kind of set that tone. And to bring him in from USC, and so he's not only making the catches, but he's blocking, he's doing all this stuff. I think that's really important.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break and be back with some things we saw that need smoothed out right after this.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntingdon. And by Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
How about that?
Wow.
He's not only here for the DeLeo family golf outing, he's here as our special nitwit. Steve, it's such a treat, and what a career you had at Penn State, and you're such a proud Penn Stater. It's So what did you see yesterday that you think maybe are some things that for a first game that you'd like to see addressed?
I think, like for instance, on the defensive ends, pump the brakes because the kid that came in,
Jazz Coleman.
I mean, I was a tight end in high school, and I came here. They moved me to defensive tackle, and in the spring, and one of my best friends, critiqued my spring appearance, because I was awful. This guy named Jack Ham. after the spring game, he said, "You stink," and I said, "You're right." I was getting killed because I'd never been in a 4-point stance, before in my life. And to be honest with you, when I was a sophomore, I played, I started and all that stuff, but I really didn't deserve. I was just the only guy there, I guess, to put in because, we just didn't have anybody else. But with, say this kid playing, who was a quarterback.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. He's a defensive end now. That's a whole different thing. He's in a collision every play. I think the kid has some twitch. He has some movement, but he's a ways away, and we need to get Fisher back. We need to get him back. I think to solidify that defensive end position.
He's got to stay healthy. I know they're high on him, but he's been injured.
One thing I would say about Coleman, I'll go to the other end of the scale. My daughter shoots photos for us, and Knowles called him the Tasmanian Devil, and she said, "Now I know why they call him the Tasmanian Devil because he's running around out there like a madman." Is that kind of what you were seeing?
Yeah,
it's like he's super athletic, and she's down at field level and seeing him just like he didn't quite know what he was doing, but he was like trying really hard.
Exactly. I think who was the other one? Harvey.
Yeah, Jalen Harvey.
I mean, a couple times he went down and the back ran by him a couple times, and he just didn't have was not aware of what was going on in the backfield.
Yeah, that quarterback was pretty savvy. Chubba Purdy, I give him a lot of credit.
Good runner.
And I think he knew what he was dealing with some of those young players. I mean, that kid showed so much toughness. He's not a great quarterback, but he played well, and he gave him some fits.
Yeah, I mean, they started the game pretty well until the fumble. Yeah. They gained 40-some yards on the first drive, a couple first downs. They ended the game with some character, so they'll have a way to build on it. Back to Penn State. The couple short yardage situations, they could have put the game away, didn't make a 4th and 1, just little things. The fumbled snap down in the red zone, just not completing drives. And James was a little disappointed in their run blocking.
Yeah, one other thing I would mention, Steve talked about Deny and Zane Durant and how good they are. The first drive that they really came out, Nevada marched right down the field and got that field goal. Now, they got those guys back in, and even toward the end of the game, I thought there were some young players in there that could have stepped up and played a little bit better on defense. Yeah. And this is a real key moment for some of those guys who were in there at the end of the game because they're making decisions on who's going to play and who's not. Yeah. So, again, we're nitpicking. But I would just say that's defensive depth is something that you kind of have to keep an eye on.
We're nitwits. We're supposed
to. Nitwits, nitpick.
Yeah. What happened with they didn't punt, but they had made a choice to go with Nwasu instead of Riley Thompson. What happened there?
I think that was a mess up on the big screen. I think if you watched, they didn't punt, but in the few instances where they were on the verge of possibly punting, Riley Thompson was the one warming up. So I think that was the first game. Like if you noticed, Neil, if you were in the press box early, one scoreboard said team arrival at 1 o'clock, the other said team arrival at 1:15. So I think they're still working through some of their
That's what I count on you. I'm
there 7 hours early.
To fit myself into my seat. We'll get to that a little bit later. But again, a good solid opener, and these first 3 games are going to be. So Aller did say that the standard of the 3s and 4s playing to the standard, which late in the game they didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, Lee, we're going to take another quick break and be back. James had a little bit of a semi-short meltdown at the very end. We'll cover that right after this.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Dorman's Jewelry. The answer is always Dorman's. And by Harry's Construction. If you can dream it, we can create it.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back. Late in the game, at the end of the game, James, kind of confronted the head referee with, was frustrated with the late penalty. There was a delay of game penalty on Penn State. I think he was a little probably annoyed by the previous series where there was a pass interference and Nevada punched in a score. You were down there and captured up close.
I had to censor some of it.
Now what happened to James late in the game?
Yeah, I mean, he had a point. I mean, one of the refs, I think, said to reset the clock, and the other ignored him. But there was like 14 seconds left in the game, and he was fired up. I understand being fired up because you have a backup quarterback in there, and that penalty goes to your backup quarterback. So that could be frustrating, but I don't think that means you ought to be running out on the field after the game to yell at the refs. Right. I just think that was overkill, and I also think it was disrespectful to the opposing coach, Choate, that you don't go and shake his hand first. I mean, you could make your feelings known in the post-game press conference. I have all the respect in the world for James, but I think sometimes I just wonder if you're going to be on the verge of refs tuning you out because over something like that in the 35-point game, you're making a gigantic issue of it.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a good look either. Right. First question that was asked of him. And of course now everything is captured on TV.
Well, he brought it up proactively.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
He was probably going to be asked.
Well, he knew, yeah.
But there's just some late game, how's he going to manage certain late game, end of game situations? Whether it's a touchdown pass on the last play against Maryland, stuff like that lead to, and that Choate, he was complimentary of him. But I agree, that team played really hard, and to run, I think Joe's a little quicker in the 40 time. The first time we've seen anybody race to an official since 2002. Anyway.
Unnecessary.
Steve scouted for the NitWits. He scouted the Texas-Ohio State game, and he was funneling me some observations.
Yeah, I think Ohio State, they have themselves a quarterback. I think the kid's a pretty good quarterback, and their offensive line, well, I think they had some question marks. They did a nice job, and they moved the ball. They got the kid from West Virginia playing fullback now, or the running back. And he did a nice job. And on defense, they still have the safety that's back, who's really, really good.
Downs.
And our buddy, Smith, Jeremiah Smith,
receiver,
he dropped his first two passes. I don't know if you knew that. So he went off and he blamed it on his gloves. So he changed gloves, and of course they had the camera on him, changing his gloves and putting the new ones on. And he went on to catch a bunch of balls after that.
I think it was a good statement. I mean, the SEC took their lumps yesterday, and all this is going to add up when you come to later in the season. But what do you see? You made an interesting observation about Manning's delivery.
Yeah, I thought he was throwing sidearm. In the first half, he was really bad. He was like 6 for 12 and for like 20 yards or something like that. I mean, and he was missing people all over the place. He looked shaken. He really did. He looked like he just was out of sync. Yeah.
We got a chance to see some of the big games yesterday at the end of LSU and Clemson. I don't think Penn you can benefit from playing these games. I don't think that Texas will, or necessarily Clemson, will be penalized later. And I don't think Penn State will be overly penalized there's just too many big opportunities later. I could see why they're trying to keep everybody fresh.
Yeah, I mean, as we record this, the AP poll won't come out till about a day from now.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see where everything stands. I assume Ohio State will be number one. I think Penn State will hold firm. Where does Texas fall? Where does Clemson go? Alabama, who would have ever seen that coming? So I think Penn State did what it needed to do. I think at this point, people aren't examining that game, the Penn State-Nevada game. They're not going and nitpicking everything. They're looking at the score and saying Penn State rolled. my guess is they're going to stay right there at number 2, which is where they belong to be. And hey, if you're a Penn State fan, as much as you may hate it, you had to be rooting for Ohio State yesterday because that's better for Penn State. When it plays Ohio State, it's better for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Right,
Exactly.
because was Ohio State going to take 2 home losses? So
Yeah,
I think the fact
good point.
that they win there, and I think it puts Penn State in a psychological advantage, being maybe a little bit the underdog. If this plays out, even if they beat Oregon, will they leap Ohio State? If Ohio State, I know we're getting.
I'll
ahead
believe
of
there's a
them.
psychological advantage against Ohio State when I see it.
I don't either.
Okay, well, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, so perfect time to tease our Nitwit of the Week. We'll be back right after this.
The Nitwits are being brought to you by DeLeo Games, serving the community since 1945. By Keller Engineers, delivering results, exceeding expectations. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
There you go. Joe Nastasi, right out of the chute. So I think that's virtually unprecedented for the guest picker to be leading, but we will get to our picks shortly. Hey, glorious day, and to have 106,000 people in a stadium that's under renovation, I think was just incredible. And Pat Kraft has done, I think, by all accounts, a great job. But I'm a little disappointed in him with the press box. The new press box is over on the other side. You probably wouldn't have heard this from your contacts, Ham and Ron Moeller, because they're in their previous location and all's well. But man, sardines are more comfortable than we were yesterday. There is new bathrooms. Thank you for that. But I think some things have to be addressed at the end of the season, especially when you get more national media and bigger games.
Well, you can't see it on his shot, but my feet actually touch the ground here. Neil's don't. So if he's complaining about how much space there is in these seats, I would just have to say I kind of agree.
Okay, gave you your chance.
Well, I think some of these things could maybe be discussed behind the scenes a little bit. But overall, in all seriousness, Neil, that has to be addressed. But the job Pat Kraft has done, we have heard about the stadium expansion and seen renderings for 30 years. And to see it actually happening, I don't want to take away from that by talking about the press box stuff. I think they're doing a great job with all of that. And let's deal with that other stuff.
Okay. All right, that's going to take us to our Florida International. This is the second of 3 scrimmages. Lines in the mid-40s as we record this. Steve, oh my God, you're picking first.
Nastasi put a lot of pressure on
That's his fault.
he's from Cambria County, and,
He wants to be in a Blair County Sports Hall of Fame.
He wants to be in all Hall of Fames.
All right, so I'll just throw this out. 54-10.
Okay. How about you?
I'll go.
You almost nailed it. When it was 46-3, I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy's going to be insufferable. You were right on the number. And then you practically didn't even talk to me. Usually we make eye contact in the media room.
What was your score, Steve?
54-10.
I will go 51-6. There you go. One under Steve.
Yeah, I think they left a lot of points on the board this past week, and I think they'll get that corrected. I'm going to go even bigger. Last time they played Florida International, it was 59-0. I'm going to say 62-3, and hopefully the late game coaches will be
And the officials will
nice-
get the timing
nice
right. The officials get the timing right. Pump the clock.
Pump the clock.
Yeah. Steve, thank you so much.
Oh, hey, great.
You're
Great
such
to do
a
it.
friend
Great
of the
to do it.
show,
Great
and
to
we
do it.
love you coming back here each year. Next week, we got Roger Corey, just going to tease
All
next
right.
week's guest.
All right.
We usually have Roger in to discuss the radio network, and they have had some changes over there with their press arrangement as well. We'll try to find out what kind of food they're getting.
And how much space they have. Jack Ham gets more space than we do, I hope.
Well, he deserves it.
Yes.
He's another guy at Penn State. And James takes a lot of pride in that. All the former Penn State
a lot of
players
guys.
that are part of the program. Of course, Arrington, you see him, on the sideline. I'm not the only one with a white beard.
We've seen Jalen Reed and Kobe King back yesterday, Allen Robinson, a bunch of people.
Yeah, well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Nitwits here on Nittany Nation Overtime. Thanks again to Steve Smear. Always for Mark Brennan, I'm Neil Rudell. See you next week.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Harry's Construction, if you can dream it, we can create it. By DeLeo Games, serving the community since 1945. By Keller Engineers, delivering results, exceeding expectations. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.